So we're going to talk about a geometric sequence. We're going to do a problem or two from the Unit 6A study guide, Integrated Math 3. We're going to be doing problem number 3. And geometric sequence is different from the arithmetic sequence. Arithmetic sequence was we were adding, the same amount to, one part of the sequence or a term, and then again for another term. Here we're multiplying a common factor, and we're doing it again and again and again for the following terms in the geometric sequence. That's what this means. So this is like the initial one, and then the next one would be like, a 2, and then the 2 would be put here in the end, 2 minus 1, that sort of thing. So for problem number 3, it says given two terms in a geometric sequence, find the common ratio and the explicit formula. So again, the common ratio is r here. So step 1, let's go ahead and find that. Step 1, we're going to find that common ratio. And we're going to call that r, all right? So let's go ahead and write down the two terms. We have a2 equals 18, and the next term is a5, and that equals negative 3, 8, 8, 8. So plugging in, well, I'll go ahead and write the formula again here. We have an equals a1 r to the n minus 1 power. So we could make a2 be the initial here, all right? And then an would be a5. So we have kind of like the one here and the one here, and so we're going to instead have a2 n minus 2. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and have a5, because this is the subsequent one down the road, so that's what we're going to be looking for, and then with that we can solve for a1. Okay, excuse me, solve for the common ratio. So we have a5 equals a2 r, and then our n is going to be 5, and what we had here for a 1 is going to be the 2. 5 minus 2. Okay, so let's go ahead and plug in our numbers. We have 18 equals, excuse me, a 5 equals this big number here, 3888. Don't make dumb mistakes like I just did, okay? Equals 18 times r, and 5 minus 2 is 3, okay? So negative 3888 divided by 18. We're going to divide both sides by 18, okay? Divide both sides by 18. And I don't know what that is in my head, but we have a negative 3888 and divided by 18, and that equals a negative 216. So we have a negative 216 equals r to the third. So now what we're going to do, let me get that to focus, okay, we're going to have to do a cube root to get r. So on both sides we're going to be doing this. Cube minus 216 and a cube root of r to the 3, which is going to give us r. So that equals r, and I'm not sure what a negative 216, the cube root of that is. That's why we have these fancy calculator apps, right? So here I go, the 3x, I'm going to go shift, and that's all set for my cube root. and I'll go a minus 216, and that gives me a negative 6. So that equals our common ratio. Now that we've got our common ratio, let's go ahead and solve for a1. So we're going to take our equation again, and we're going to be solving for a1. And we need a1 to make our explicit formula. So it's really kind of like, I'm not going to go straight to the explicit formula. We're going to solve for a1 here. So again, let's just take our that same equation, okay, and we're going to go an equals a1 times r to the n minus 1. All right, so let's just go ahead for an. Let's go ahead and use a2. It's a smaller number, okay? So 18 equals a1 times, and our r, put that in parentheses just to make it really clear, is in negative 6, and that's going to be the n minus 1 power, and then our n here is 2. So 2 minus 1. So we have 18 equals a1. Now, 2 minus 1 is 1. Any number to the first power is itself. So we have a1 times a minus 6. Now let's divide both sides by a negative 6 to isolate the a1. So we're going to divide both sides by a negative 6. And that's going to give us 3. Or excuse me, a negative 3. 18 divided by a negative 6 is a negative 3. Remember, a negative times a negative is positive. Negative 3 times a negative 6 equals 18. All right, so we have a negative 3 equals a 1. Now that we have a 1, I'm just going to underline that. We can use that with r to go ahead and write in our explicit rule. Okay. Step 3, we're just going to plug and chug here, okay? Explicit rule. And that's again an equals a1 times r n minus 1. So an equals a1 is a negative 3 times r is a negative 6, and that would be to the n minus 1 power. And I kind of like to put my boxes in. I don't really need to have that negative 3 in parentheses. I might just clean it up a little bit and put negative 3 times negative 6 to the n minus 1 power. Then I'll box that. So that's our explicit rule.